Welcome to Inspiration in a Nutshell. So, today I'm going to talk about how you can get your man to support you. Do you feel like your man doesn't support you emotionally and in other ways? He's a good man. He wants to support you, but he doesn't seem to do it despite you telling him many, many times, many, many ways. You tell him all the time, or maybe you don't tell him at all because you're just tired of trying to ask and not getting what you need. And basically, nothing is changing. So you get frustrated because nothing changes. And, because you're telling him all the time, he doesn't seem to get it. He doesn't listen. Maybe he's on his phone playing games or talking to his buddies and he's not listening or just says yes or okay, but actually doesn't do anything. So your frustration basically mounts, and sometimes you just want to scream. So, does this sound familiar? Do you feel like you're hitting against your head against the wall and just getting more and more frustrated? You know, then what happens is you end up doing it yourself. You get angry and resentful, and you ask yourself, why bother asking him to do anything? It's just easier to do it yourself, and you just get tired and frustrated. And it's just not a lot of fun being in the relationship when you have to deal with everything. And it feels like it's a heavy burden to bear. So you may ask him, if you're asking him to do stuff, why don't you do this when I ask you? Why do I need to tell you all the time what I need from you? Like, why don't you take out the trash? Why don't you support the kids emotionally? Why do I have to do all the hard emotional labor at home or figure out what needs to be done at home or with us or with the family? Like, you're juggling both your job and all the stuff at home, and it can be overwhelming and a lot. So, my question to you is, do you want to learn something new or try a different little experiment that may actually help you? Well, if you do, stay on and take a listen and see if this may help you. So, the question is, how do you figure out how to talk to your man so you feel supported? And I have to share with you that the reason I'm making this video is because a friend was complaining about this, and I took a class on Understanding Men by Allison Armstrong that helped me understand how men and women's brains work. And that really made a difference in my life when it came to feeling supported. So, men and women's brains are wired differently. It's not doesn't mean that one is bad or one is good. They're just different. It's like, two different outfits. They both look great, but one looks different than the other. There's nothing wrong with either one. It's just that they're different and there's nothing wrong. You just have to appreciate them both and figure out which place you'd wear one outfit and which place you would wear the other, right? Because they're different. And it's the same thing with men and women's brains. They're different, but once you understand it, you can figure out how to have a more stable, harmonious relationship. And these relationships can be more satisfying because you do understand how his brain works and you do understand how your brain works. So then you can find ways to feel supported. So, how do men's brains work? Well, they're kind of wired like a waffle. Testosterone wires their brain like a waffle. They have separate compartments, and every square has a different function, and they don't really connect. There's a box for the wife or girlfriend, there's a box for work, a box for fun, a box for doing nothing. Like sometimes if you ask a guy, like, what are you thinking? They're like, nothing, because really nothing is there. There's a box for sex. There's a box for video games. There's a box for watching TV. There's a box for sports or their favorite hobby. Every activity that they do has a box, and it takes work from going from one box to another. Everything is kind of compartmentalized. So that's kind of how testosterone wires the brain. Well, for women, we have a lot of estrogen. So women's brains are wired a little differently. We're kind of wired like spaghetti. Everything is connected. And in fact, the two lobes of our brain, for women, the two lobes have more connectivity. There's more nerves going back and forth between the two lobes of the brain compared to men. And so that's called the corpus callosum, and it's just, more connected. And so, because we're more connected, we see the little things connect to the big things, and we know that the little things can affect the big things and how everything needs to get done. And we know how one small thing is connected to one big thing. Whereas men, because their brains are like waffles and they're like separated, they can't always see how one thing is connected to another thing right away. It's harder for them. They can compartmentalize easier than we can, which is can be a plus. And it's harder for us to compartmentalize because we see how everything is connected, which can also be a plus. So each of us has different, strengths and limitations. And that's okay because, differences make the world go round and make life interesting. So, you know, I want to share with you that men actually want to support women and make us happy. They truly do. And what I'm talking about is healthy men. Healthy men do want to support women, do want to contribute to women's life, and do want to make them happy. Obviously, men who are narcissistic or who are abusive or other things are not healthy men, and they typically will not want to do this. But healthy men will. And they actually do really want to make us happy, but sometimes they don't know how. They cannot read our minds. So we have to tell them. I'm going to say that again, ladies. They cannot read our minds. So we have to tell them. Like with women, we can like figure out what each other wants because we're speaking women language. But, they don't speak women language. They speak men language. They live in the Waffle House. We live in the spaghetti house. So we have to communicate to get what we want from them. So once we tell them exactly how and what we want, then they will do it because they really do want to make us satisfied and happy. So it's important when they do something for us that we like, that we tell them that that makes us happy, that they're our hero, that they really helped us, and that they will continue to do the same thing because they want to win and make us happy. Like in each of those waffle boxes, they want to be successful at that. So if you're in the wife or girlfriend box, they want to be successful at making you happy. And if you tell them how, and what they need to do to make you happy in that part of their life, they will do it because they really do want to feel successful. So, how do you do it? Well, it's literally like having a loving dog and telling them exactly what you want and then praising them for it. So, you can say it's important to say I need because they want to be needed. So you say I need X or Y because this will make me happy, or this will help me X, Y, and Z, or this will help me, get some rest because I've had a long day, whatever it is. So you keep it really simple, then stop talking and let him do it. And then thank him when it's done. It's really that simple. You don't need to give him a long explanation. It's really, I need X or Y because this will really help me feel rested because I haven't had much sleep. Thank you for helping me. Then let him do it. Let him figure out how to do whatever it is. You don't need to micromanage it. If, you could say, do you want me to tell you how I want it? And if he says yes, then show him. And if he doesn't do it exactly right, you don't need to beat him up for it. It's the first time he's doing it. So, give him some time to adjust. And when he does it, praise him, say thank you, and that made you happy or satisfied, and use your body language too. Maybe a hug or a kiss or, a great smile. And they'll continue to do it over and over again because you're in the wife or girlfriend box. They want to make you happy. And if you tell them that that makes you happy, they're going to want to do that over and over again. That's just how they're wired. So, one thing that's important to understand because our brains are wired differently is that because we're spaghetti, because our brains are wired like spaghetti and everything is connected, we can multitask. It's a lot easier for us to multitask than men. Men are single taskers, they do one thing at a time. And that's because how their brain is wired. That's not to say that some men can multitask. Yes, they can. And that's not to say that some women are single taskers. So it's just in general that men and women will process things differently. So, because of that, it's important to ask for one thing at a time. So, don't ask for lots of things at once, ask for one or two things a week. Then think of it like training a little bit at a time. Watch them do those one or two things that week, praise them for it, and do not expect that they will once again do it exactly the way you do it. You need to have some flexibility about how it's done as long as it's done. And sometimes, they may find a better way to do it than you. So be open to the possibilities. So once they do those one or two things that week, say thank you when they do it, and then they'll continue to do it. And then the next week, pick something else the next week, but don't overwhelm them with too many requests at once. So the more you do this, the better you'll get at one, asking for what you need, and two, feeling supported. So, if you try this, let me know how it goes. I'd really love to hear your experiences and think of it as an experiment, something that you can do to try to make your life better. Because I truly believe that once you have the skills and the tools, you can use them to make your life better. And this has made my life a lot better. And if you want to learn more, go do a search for someone called Allison Armstrong. She wrote some books and she also has some trainings on understanding men. When I took this class, Understanding Men by Allison Armstrong, it totally made sense and I applied it in my life and it's made a big difference. Also, because of that, I'm less resentful about men and what they do or don't do because we're expecting them to act like women and they're not women. We're expecting them to read our minds, and they can't read our minds because their brains are wired differently than you and I. So, because they're wired differently, we have to accommodate that, just like um, we accommodate if we have kids. We try to sometimes have to adjust things based on a child's personality. Same thing. So ask them for what you need in a way that works for their brain, and your brain, which is also different, will be satisfied because you will feel supported. So I hope that helps. And thank you for joining with Inspiration in a Nutshell. Remember, just because we're wired differently doesn't mean we can't have happy and enjoyable relationships. Let me know in the comments how it goes. What would you love to hear about next? And also share some of your experiences with this little experiment if you try it. Thanks again. Love you lots. Have a wonderful day.